What do you say we talk a little bit about lawnmowers or engines or things that go brrr or brrr, depending on which way your blade is situated on your lawnmower edger or whatever it is that you're using? Okay, folks, there are different types of carburation systems on your lawnmowers. You're going to find out. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered why you could take something like a weed eater and take the engine and spin it all around and that engine doesn't stall? Or if you were to take a lawnmower and when you take a lawnmower and you push it while it's running, while you take it and you push it down all the way to the ground to where you lift it up, dangerous thing to do, don't do that. But I'm just saying, if you were to push it down like that, that the engine stalls or maybe even stops. Now, the reason for that is the carburation, the carburetor, which is the device which takes your fuel and pushes it, measures it, and pushes it through the actual engine itself so that your engine can work. Well, what it is that the one has a float and one doesn't. The one that has a float actually is a float that works inside of the gas tank itself. And when you end up pushing your lawnmower down like this, the gas is not being pushed, not pushing this float up. Therefore, the flow isn't going to be going into and through the carburetor and to do the magic that it has to do. Now, typically speaking, this is only for 4-stroke engines. 2-stroke engines don't have the floats. Wait a minute here. I beg to differ with you. The fact that the laws have changed and they're slowly taking away 2-stroke engines, they're slowly fading them away. Are they going to go forever? I don't know. I'm not exactly positive about that one. We're going to have to see. Maybe 5, 10, 20 years from now, it's possible 2-stroke engines are going to be a thing of the past. And the reason for that is because of the emissions. And, in other words, the amount of smog, if you may, that comes out of all these engines. So you kind of have to kind of keep that in mind and kind of project. But as of right now, there's a lot of 2-stroke engines out there, from weed whackers to hedge trimmers to chainsaws. How about outboard motors? In fact, you're even finding out on outboard motors, which is really kind of interesting, where you have the 2-stroke engines are being outlawed on many lakes. Have you ever seen when you had a 2-stroke engine and you crank that bad boy up and you'll see that it leaves a little bit of oil behind? Yeah, you don't have that normally with a 4-stroke engine. That's why they're eliminating them and making it illegal for many lakes now. And you're going to find it's a trend because there's a lot of states. I've done a lot of fishing in my time. As a matter of fact, my boat hasn't seen water in a long time because I had a 2-stroke engine on the boat. Just a little 14-footer, nothing fancy like that. All right, that's my version of my yacht. But the engines themselves, you go to crank them up, bam, it throws out a little bit of oil in the water, and they don't want to pollute the water. It has nothing to do with the emissions from coming out of the exhaust. So the other thing you're going to find out with these 4-stroke engines that are being retrofitted or being put on now and for sale on the weed eaters, on your hedge trimmers, on your boat motors as well, you're going to find out that these are bigger engines. They're bigger engines and they're heavier engines as well. And they're trying to get away and get around that. But the problem is that you have more torque in a 2-stroke engine, you have more strength in a 2-stroke engine than you do in the 4-stroke when it comes to small engines. So, and of course they're lighter, the 2-strokers. And that's what you really want when you're out in the field. I mean, let's face it, you're out there and you're working with your lawnmower and you're working with your trimmer and you're working with it all day long. You don't want that thing to get too heavy. You want it as light as possible. So that's kind of the challenge that you have there. I want to switch gears here a little bit because it relates to your carburation, but it doesn't. It all depends on the way that you look at it. If you've ever noticed in your car, you have an air filter. Well, you have air filters on your engines as well, your small engines. And it's very important to keep those filters as clean as possible. Now, you're going to notice that with a lawnmower or a two-stroke engine, you're going to see that where the carburetor is, there's a filter, and the filter comes in many different forms. Sometimes they're large ones, sometimes they're small ones, sometimes they're paper, sometimes they're made out of foam. There's a lot of different ones there. And what happens is that the debris gets caught underneath and inside of the carburetor itself. And it collects, well, not the carburetor, and the filter. And it collects and it gets clogged. So if you've got a lot of sputtering going on, it's just like this, then the first thing we always want to check for is the air filter. It's a very easy thing to do. Normally, you just need a coin in your pocket, and you twist right on top. The air filter cartridge or the container itself comes off, and then the whole thing will pull off and you'll be exposed to the carburetor. Be careful, though, that debris doesn't fall into the carburetor. You get a little piece of grass or something in there. Boy, I'll tell you, it is going to clog that thing up, and you've got bigger problems than you could ever imagine. So anyway, first off, you're going to pull it off, and then you're going to look at it. Right at the bottom, it'll probably be all caked on. It'll be all greasy. It'll be all grimy. It'll be horrible. Scrape all of that off, and then you take and you open it up, and then you have right there you're gonna find out whether or not it's a paper one or whether it's a foam one. If it's a foam one, old school is where we used to wash it with gasoline, but you don't have to do that any longer. We found out that the technology is such to where you can just wash it with warm soapy water. That's all you do. So you just squish it together, everything comes out, you squish it real good. Once you get it all squished out, then you take a little bit of oil, whether it's the kind that comes out of a can or well, actually, all oil should come out of a can. Actually, all oil comes from dinosaurs, but that's another story altogether. So you're going to take this stuff and you're going to moisten it just slightly with the foam one, and you squish it and massage it inside so that it gets all over inside of the foam air filter. Then what'll end up happening is that once you got that all taken care of, you'll put it all back. Of course, you're going to look around the carburetor and you have all this stuff caked on. Put your hand on top of the carburetor or put something that covers up that hole. And then blow out with an air compressor with air, or somehow brush it out. I don't care. Brush out all the debris. Real important for you to remember that. Brush all that debris out. And then once it's nice and clean, then you lift your hand up, look down inside that hole, make sure you don't see any kind of debris in there. If you do, pull it out. Don't blow it in, because you'll just get it right into there. Pull it out. Do what you got to do to get it out. All right. Now, what if it's a paper filter? Some paper filters, if they're not all greasy and grimy, you can just take that air compressor, or that compressed air, and you could just blow it out, and blow it out the opposite direction. Don't blow it back into where the carburetor was slurping it up. You blow it out. You hold it up to the sunlight like this, and if you can kind of see through it a little bit, not through it, but if it looks clear and there's nothing that's obstructing it, and you've got a nice even amount of sunlight coming through, then you know that you can use that particular one. If not, if it's all dirty and it's all grimy, get rid of it. It's just that simple.